Thank you very much. We're really glad to be here.
This first song is called I Talk to God in My Heart, and it's actually a song we wrote here in the Southwest a few years ago. So I hope you enjoy this song.
So many lessons I have left to learn, 'cause my mind wonders which way to turn. So I stop and listen to the trees, and for God's healing whisper in the breeze. Close my eyes, go deep within. Every day, that's where I start. Live with ease, feel the wisdom flow. I talk to God in my heart. When I get home really late at night, I thank God for this divine insight that loves in every heart and hand, reaching out for me to understand. Close my eyes, go deep within. Every day, that's where I start. Live with ease, feel the wisdom flow. I talk to God in my heart as I walk on the sacred path with the sun upon my face. I rise above the rocky ground to the endless bliss of God's grace. Close my eyes, go deep within. Every day, that's where I start. Live with ease, feel the wisdom flow. I talk to God in my heart. I talk to God in my heart. I talk to God. Hello, God, in my heart. Thank you.
We have CDs out in the foyer, and if you're online, heartdream.com, is that what it was? Yep, beautiful. Beautiful, thank you. Actually, I'm totally loving the purples and, oh, nice. I'm in red today because red is the color of our fall program week, but I think besides, there's a little t-shirt there and there's a shawl there. Oh, there's a red back there. Oh, we got a few reds. Yeah, there we go, very good. I'll tell you what, yesterday, and especially the day before that, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so cold in my red, so I'm glad the sun came out. Just saying. So, would it be all right with you if your life got easier? I've been asking that. We've been asking that as we've been promoting our fall program, but I didn't really hear but one response. So one person, we can talk later. The rest of them, we'll just let them be, right? Would it be all right with you if whatever it is that you're struggling with, or even if you're not, that thing got easier? Okay, good. Now we got some people who are in for it. It would be wonderful, even if your life is like going really well, there's still places where it can get easier. Now, when I wrote this book, Falling into Ease, it came out of that question. Now, I heard that question when I was in seminary in 1998. It has stayed with me And at some moments in time, life has been beautifully ease-filled. Now, what I mean by that isn't necessarily that life doesn't have challenges. Now, when I went to seminary, when I went to Unity Seminary and I was ordained in 2000, there was something in me that thought, oh, awesome, I'm ordained. I can walk on water. Like, life will be really sweet now, right? That's not what happened. That's not what happened. What happened is life kept happening. The struggles and the suffering and the obstacles and the opportunities kept coming. And I'm like, what's the deal? Like, why is this still hard? Even though I knew that life could get easier. My life is filled with a lot of ease right now. I was going to tell you about a story when it wasn't, but I'm going to tell you about a story about this morning. Ooh, telling on myself. Right? So I'm stepping into this, and we've got a lot of changes, and there's a lot that I don't know. I had like 5 questions this morning and even last night and on the email, and people were like, well, what about this and what about this? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm your transitional minister, but I don't know. I don't know. Well, what time is church? I don't know. Oh, I do know what time church is. What time are you done? I don't know. What about this? I don't know. Where's the duct tape? I don't know. I don't know. And so what I do, on my personal process, what I do is I prepare my talk. I'm working on it, for the week. It's sort of bubbling in the back. And then usually on Saturday, I spend some time on it. Well, Saturday was busy. We had this workshop yesterday morning, and then I met with some other people. That was wonderful. And then I had another thing, and then I had another Zoom call, and then I had to open the room. It was just like, it was busy. So I'm working, and it's like, okay, completely scrap everything I'd done at 8:30 last night, which is not all that unusual, actually. And then it came. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's good. That's awesome. And I just sort of was making some notes, and I got up this morning, and then I sat to meditate, which is not unusual, but my meditation went like 30 minutes longer than I had scheduled in my morning. And then I got a phone call. I'm like, I'm trying to get out the door. And it was just kind of like this, right? And then I get here, and what I do is I email my talk or my notes to the computer here so that they can print it for me, because I don't have a printer in my Airbnb, right? Oh, somebody's knocking. God is calling. Hello, God. So I get here and I open up the computer. It was the first time I've ever done that. And I open up the email and I got that. I'm like, oh, guess what? No attachment. So we're winging it. And then this happened, and then that happened, and then what about this, and then what about that? And one of the things I'd been coaching Reverend Brendelin on for months was it's okay as you're preparing to retire to drop the balls. It's really okay to drop the balls. So this week, I am modeling what that looks like. I'm not really proud of it, but I could go stressed about it, or if I could fall into ease, I go, no, we're modeling it. Because Unity Santa Fe is in a time of great transition. We are in a change, and we are in the gap part of that change. Now, that's my favorite thing to talk about. And inside the gap, we have all kinds of opportunities. We have opportunities to look and see and peel away what doesn't work or what no longer works. We have the opportunity to step into our next level of becomingness. We have the opportunity to discover who we are now as we reveal who we are becoming. There is so much richness. We also have the opportunity to let go of that which no longer serves. So part of what no longer serves, the story I was going to tell you about, which I'm not going to tell you about, but the synopsis of that is that I got into a point where my life was really, really hard. And I was suffering excessively. My stress was off the chart. Had to do with one of the children I was raising, but we're not going to tell that story either today. But it was unbelievably difficult to breathe. Anybody ever been there? When life happens, and the thing is, we're human beings, so we're going to have life happening. And in the midst of that time, I didn't know if I could get up in the morning. I didn't know if I could go to the church I was serving and give a talk. I didn't know. I remember one time I got a call at 10:30 on a Saturday night. I had already been in bed, and it was one of those calls that sends you off the charts in worry, in fear, in anxiety, in stress, in suffering. And I got up the next morning, and I have no idea how I did it, but I did church, and then I completely fell apart. So I tell you this because living a life, allowing your life to become easier, doesn't mean that you don't have struggles. But what it does mean is that you begin to peel away some of the things that are in our humanity in order to discover that place in you, that deeper place in you, that deeper presence, that place where God is. And sometimes when you are at your rope's end and you don't know what to do, that is the richest moment of your entire life. Because what happens is a surrender. And what happens in a surrender is you quit trying to do it yourself. Because we're not supposed to do it ourselves. We're supposed to answer the call. We're supposed to talk to God. We're supposed to say, as I did in 1994, I give up. I can't do it anymore. And God says, cool, all right, finally, you're here. Or some version of that. It took me a few years to see that. But in that moment, it became, okay, when I know I'm stressed, my work is to let go. My work is to create the space. My work is to get about the business of being who God has called me to be. So if you're suffering, and we have a lot of grief in our ministry right now, in part because of Jude's death, and in part because of other things that are going on with other people's family members, and in part because even though we may not consciously be grieving that Brendelen retired, she was here 26, almost 27 years. There is an aspect of grief with every change. And it might not be what you call traditional common grief, but it's going to come out sideways. And you just know it will. And that's part of why I love the gap so much, because you have no idea what's going to show up in any given moment. We become like, unlike the scavenger hunt for looking, what's up? What's up? When something goes sideways, you go, oh, what needs to be looked at here? And you look deeper, and you look deeper, and you look deeper, and you go, okay, well, that wasn't working, so what can we do to make it work? Or we look at, oh, well, that's really bumping up about, I've got this reaction to something else totally in my life. It's like, well, could it be related to this big void we're standing in? And when you begin to look more deeply into yourself, which means when you get punched up by something on the outer, if it's not about the outer, it's about the inner. Some of us call it the shadow work. Some of us call it digging deeper to find our essence. But in that moment of time where I was so suffering and so struggling, and I got my support, I leaned into the support I needed, both internally but also externally. And I began to peel away some of those things that no longer served me. I began to discover a more truth. So some of the things I got to peel away was some of the unworthiness, some of the codependency I had, the enmeshment I had with this family member I was talking about that was sending me through the ringer and back. Whew. It wasn't me. Like you can begin to ask the answer, what is mine? You begin to ask the question. You don't ask the answer very often. Ask the question, what is mine? And it began to discover a deeper inner strength that came from my heart breaking open, that came from me finally being absolutely vulnerable and discovering and then admitting I wasn't Superwoman. I couldn't handle all the moving parts by myself. I had to connect to that which was spirit moving in and through me. I had to get out of my way. And in that peeling of some of that, I discovered a deeper sense of who I am. Now the thing is, the Forget about the business of being yourself is our talk title, right? The business of being yourself is not a one-time gig. It is continuing to evolve because we are ever evolving. And if we are not ever evolving, then we are contracting and dying. And who wants to do that? All of us will do that. But right now, let's continue evolving to the best of our ability. So in that peeling off, I was reminded of the story of the Golden Buddha. It's probably one you know. Do you know the story of the Golden Buddha? The story is that 100 years ago or more in Tibet, there was this beautiful Buddha, and they were about to be invaded, and so the tribe, or whatever they were called, the people covered this Buddha in clay, in plaster, so that nobody would think it was anything but, plaster and clay. And so it stayed there. And then 100 years went by, and somewhere around 1955, this is actually a true story, they were moving some things around in the temple. They were doing some remodeling in the monastery, and something fell. And they were trying to move this Buddha, and something on it cracked. It cracked, and a piece of that plaster, a piece of that clay fell off. They went, oh no. But what happened when that piece of plaster fell off is one of the workmen said, wait, there's a glimmer there. Clay doesn't glimmer. Like the light caught it. And go, what is that? And they began to go into discovery mode, and they began to very carefully remove more of that clay, more of that plaster. And what they ultimately discovered was a 1,200-pound gold Buddha. It was a golden Buddha, but it had been so long, over 100 years since they'd covered it up to protect it, that nobody knew that it was golden on the inside. Nobody knew that it was priceless on the inside. But what if we are the golden Buddha? What if we, the essence, the truth of who we are, our beingness, our self, our capital S self, is golden? And all the stuff of our life, our beliefs, our patterns, our programming, our life situations, the things that happen in the world and beyond the world, and our country, and all of the issues we have in the world right now, what if all of that is simply plaster and clay that was 100 or 1,000 or thousands of years ago created to cover up the golden essence of who we be in order to protect it? In order to protect it is important, because sometimes when we start to do this uncovering, we're like judge ourselves. Why is it there? Why did they cover that up? It was for protection at the moment. But getting about the business of being ourselves is really about peeling off the plaster, the clay that has covered up our golden essence. So for a moment, just imagine, right? Just imagine looking around the room, or if you're on Zoom or on wherever you are, looking around at the people around you and go, let me see that gold shine through. Oh, I see the gold. Oh, I see the gold shining through. And begin to see people at their essence. Our 5 basic principles, the first one is there's only one presence and one power active in the universe. We call it God, and God is what? Good. All the time. The second is that we are God. Individualized. We have that Christ presence, that divinity within us. We all have the potential of activating and realizing our Christedness, or our Buddha nature, or our golden self. That's our work. That's getting about the business of being yourself. The thing that happens there is you become freed. Here is a quote from my book, because I found my book on my Kindle, which is on my iPad, so I can read you a quote from my book. I can't believe I can't hold up my book for you, but anyway. Who are you? You are a spiritual being on a journey to remember wholeness. You are here with an amazingly full toolbox of opportunities, gifts, challenges, and potential. You are here to find joy and love and peace. Who doesn't want more peace, more ease in their lives? Who doesn't want more play and fun and delight? The thing is that sometimes we think these things are too far away, unreachable, or some other false idea that keeps us stressed and in struggle and suffering. Who are you as you read this book? What are your hopes and dreams? Where and how do you stay mired in suffering or stuck in the ruts of your life? There's no judgment here, only query. As you begin to see the patterns, to discover the places that bind you tight, you can begin to unravel them. And what would you love instead of struggle? The subtitle of my book is Release Your Struggle and Create a Life You Love. The definition of struggle is anything outside of ease. Right? Now, sometimes struggle is a good thing. If we're building muscles, we have to struggle our muscles. If we're a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, there is a struggle to spread our wings. There is work involved, but suffering is optional. So begin to dissect, to separate struggle from suffering. We use an acronym around the word sin. We don't use the word sin much in Unity, but sin is self-induced, nonsense. I was going somewhere else with suffering. Now I see I got my quotes mixed up. Self-induced nonsense creates suffering, but most of our suffering is useless and unnecessary. Doesn't mean you don't struggle. It doesn't mean you don't have pain when you have pain. But what we do is create this story. We create this other clay plaster container that keeps us stuck in our suffering. But what if that is actually useless and unnecessary, and we can drop that? We can dismantle it. We can unravel it. And when we do that, what we find is this freedom to discover, this freedom to be. Now, in this transition time, at Unity Santa Fe, we have this opportunity, this gap in the trajectory of what is and what has been, that we can do this deep work, that we can put on the eyes of discovery, put on the eyes of curiosity, notice where we're dropping the balls and go, wow, did that ball really need to be dropped? Maybe it did, right? So we bring this sense of ease through it. There are going to be lots of things shifting and adjusting, partly just by the nature and partly because it's not Brendlin here anymore. It's me a few weeks a month. It's guest speakers. It's potential candidates. Everybody's different. So I invite you to sit back, fasten your seatbelt, hold on, and let go. You have to do both. You have to hold on and you have to let go. But the letting go is more important. Fasten your seatbelts. Hold on. It's going to be a bit of a ride for the next few months. But how exciting. How exciting is this? Just an FYI, the search team is busy. Ooh, ooh, ooh. They are so excited. They are moving. We can't tell you anything other than that. But the search team will be presenting to the board this week, and the board will be looking at what the search team presented, and then likely as early as next week, well, probably not by next Sunday, but by a week from Monday, Tuesday, we likely will be beginning to invite candidates, multiples, individuals. We'll see what happens. So it's a super exciting time. And here's what I want you to do. When you have candidates here, I have to tell you this today because I'm not speaking for the next 2 weeks. I want you to look at these people, to look at this person, and I want you to say, wow, is there potential for long-term relationship here? I want you to look with the intention of the next 5 or 10 years of Unity Santa Fe. Who are we becoming? And could this person be in partnership with us in our becomingness? They're not going to look like me, sound like me. They're not going to look like Brendolyn, sound like Brendolyn. That's the good news. But can you be in long-term relationship with the potential candidates? As the potential candidates are asking themselves the same questions about you. But the more that we discover, the more that we get about the business of being ourselves, the more that we are authentically present to what is and to who is. Jesus said, "Become ye like little children." And that's the way to enter the kingdom. Become ye like little children. Now, little children, think about little children, especially the little ones. They are so authentically them. There is no pretense. There is no socialization. They're just free. And when they're mad, they're mad. And when they're sad, they're sad. And when they're crying, they're crying. And when they're laughing, they're laughing. And it is moment to moment to moment to moment authenticity. We can learn from that. We've put all these layers of, well, I need to look like this, and I need to act like that, and I need to sound like that, and I don't want to admit that I'm really mad, and I don't want to admit that I'm really sad, and I don't want to admit. Forget all those rules. Dive into your most authentic self. There's a little boy, story of a little boy, and he was crying one day, and he was about 6, so still pretty little. And he was just crying his eyes out, and the man went up to him. He said, what is going on? He goes, I don't know who I am. I'm not like anybody else. And the wisdom of the man said, kid, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. We get to be ourselves. We get to acknowledge who that is. And when we do that with a level of acceptance, everything opens up. Everything expands. There's a body of work by Dr. Zach Bush. He's got a lot of YouTube things, and he's pretty controversial in a lot of arenas right now, but he has this piece on death and dying, and he tells the story of being in the ICU and 3 people in one shift dying, and he brought them back. So he started his work on talking to them, and every single one of them said, "Why'd you bring me back?" And he went talking to them, and across the board, and then many, many years and many, many people and many, many research later, and this is common research too, what they said is they were surrounded. It was so bright, it was so light, but what they were feeling was such acceptance. Exactly for who they are, exactly for who they were. This level of acceptance is the key to a life well lived. Think about all the places that we don't really accept ourselves. You know, I wish I was taller or shorter or younger or older, or I wish my eyes were a different color, or I wish I fit in that dress a little bit different, or I wish I had done this. Those are all judgments, self-judgments. If we could learn to drop those, it's not a mental learning. It is an experience that will wash over you in a moment of such acceptance. Like, oh. And not only do I accept myself, like that comes second almost, but the realization that God loves you just the way you are. You don't have to change. You don't even have to evolve. It's just that evolving makes a much funner life. And who doesn't want more fun, right? You are accepted exactly where you are. And when we come to know that, to experience that, then everything changes. Everything changes. And we fall into this place of ease and grace. And we fall into this deeper embodiment, the integration of the truth principles. Now, when I was a younger minister, Been doing this for over 20 years. So when I was a younger minister, my motto, my mission, my everything was like, oh, I'm all about love and light and joy and peace. And that's really where it was. Everything's love and light and joy and peace, and anything other than that I would ignore. Anybody relate? But what I found from coming and continuing to live through my life, to dive deep into my experiences, to peel off, to become willing to be authentic and vulnerable, and to be willing to be in the deep, dark night of the soul, to be willing to dive into those places of the void, to be willing to dive into the places of grief, and be willing to dive into the places of the unknown, is that I discovered that I am and life is love. And light, and joy, and peace. But do you feel how different that is because of the life experience? How different that is from, oh yeah, it's all about love and light and joy and peace. And if you're struggling, just go to the light. Stop it. Stop it. Dive in and come out the other side. And when you come out the other side, you discover the truth of who you be. And when you accept the truth of who you be, when you know you are accepted, the truth of who you be, when you open to that, there is nothing in the world that can stop you. Because you are the very presence, the very power of God expressing as you, and you are here to do a mighty work. And that mighty work can be small, little pieces, but you are here to do a mighty work. And when you land in that, in why you're on the planet, why you wake up, why you breathe, it's innate in you and different for everybody, although it's usually about love or service, right? When you land in that, that will inform your every decision, your every interaction, your every experience. And you will be filled with such grace and such spaciousness and such acceptance for all that is. And that, my friends, is the doorway to the new humanity. That, my friends, is the doorway into knowing the truth of who you be. Let's take these thoughts into a time of meditation. Just take a deep breath in. And exhale consciously and fully. Become like that little boy who says, but I don't know who I am. And feel the presence of Spirit saying to you, just be yourself. Everyone else is taken. And in that moment, feel the freedom of that little boy in you, that little girl in you, that essence of the truth of who you are, jumping up with joy, discovering what brings you joy. Coming into a place where you can dance a little more, where you can smile a little more freely, where you can be kind and loving and accepting of all that is. Become aware of that golden essence of who you be, peeking through the clay, the plaster, the beliefs, the reasons, the excuses, peeking through and shining through. And feel yourself becoming willing in this time of our adventures in faith, in this time of our transition, to peel away the clay, to peel away the plaster and reveal the brilliance of your own golden essence. I imagine that we do that as a ministry. That everything Unity Santa Fe is and has been is simply the beginning of our next level of brilliance, of impact. And notice the joy that bubbles up, even in the midst of grief or anxiety. And feel the individual joy bubbling up in the very center of your being. And feel that sense of joy and delight and curiosity bubbling up in the center of this ministry. And as you become like a child in your freedom of expression, let that excitement ignite in you, an innocence, a curiosity indeed. Let that bubble up in you and ignite a sense of wonder. Oh, I wonder how cool it's going to be. I wonder how amazing it's going to be. I wonder how this is all going to work itself out. And in that wonder creates a space. Let that space be filled with Spirit. Fill that space consciously with love, with acceptance, with allowing. And notice then that the space also includes kindness, compassion, innovation, collaboration, and most of all, maybe not most of all, but also connection. Feel your connection to your golden essence. Feel your connection to Spirit. Feel your connection to this ministry. And feel how your heart opens even further. How it feels like it might burst. And feel that presence of Spirit washing over you, washing over us. You are accepted, just as you are. And in that acceptance, feel more of the old drop away, more of the clay dropping away. And in that space, feel the truth of this affirmation. I am willing to fall into a life of ease. I choose ease. And whatever it is you're sitting in personally and collectively, we surround that with ease. We enfold it. We envelop it with ease, with love, with light, with presence, with acceptance. And we lift it. And as we lift it, we see a new day dawning, filled with possibility, filled with purpose, filled with love. Let yourself be moved. Let yourself be touched by the activity of Spirit. Another deep breath. Come into gratitude. Just let your heart be filled with gratitude for someone, for something, for this moment, for the possibilities, for the truth. And we say, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen.
This next song is called Raindrops Fall in a Clear Crystal Bowl. And it's about going into that place that you so beautifully talked about and finding your ease and who and what you really are.
Sitting in the stillness of my heart, I close my eyes, going deeper within, feeling the warmth welling up inside, letting the symphony of love begin. Raindrops fall in a clear crystal bowl. Every chord harmonizes my soul. From my dream I awaken to sing gratitude and thanks for everything. Violet blue aura in my third eye gives way to dazzling brilliance of light. My inner eye opens up to bliss. Oneness with God is the highest gift of all. Raindrops fall in a clear crystal bowl. Every chord harmonizes my soul. From my dream I awaken to sing
Gratitude and thanks for everything.
Rivers of melody connect me to you. Songs of ancient wisdom arise and flow through, and I melt into the ecstasy of grace, surrounded by love in God's pure embrace.
Raindrops fall in a clear crystal bowl. Every chord harmonizes my soul. From my dream I awaken to sing. Gratitude and thanks for